Coming up next on RWL Rage Tag Team Action with Mad Dog X and the Black Sinister, the X-Klan, set to go up against Jim Dandy Deacons and the RWL Mid-South Champion, Billy White Moon, Best of the West.
The next tag team match is scheduled for one fall with a 20-minute time limit. Coming down the aisle at a combined weight of 363 pounds, from Newark, New Jersey, and over 400 years of oppression, Mad Dog X, the Black Sinister, the X-Klan.
X-Klan going it alone tonight without No Rules champion Magic at ringside. Mad Dog X and the Black Sinister all set and primed to go in this 2-on-2 matchup against Jim Dandy Deacons and Billy White Moon from Best of the West.
And I don't have to tell you, there's some friction building between the X-Klan and Best of the West. These two teams really don't like each other very much.
There certainly has been mounting tension between Mad Dog X and the Black Sinister and the members of Best of the West, Billy White Moon, Jim Dandy Deacons, and of course the Lone Star Superstar Tex McKenzie.
Their opponents along with the Lone Star Superstar Tex McKenzie, and at a combined weight of 526 pounds, from Houston, Texas, Jim Dandy Deacons, and from Norman, Oklahoma, the RWL Mid-South Champion Billy White Moon, Best of the West.
Now, I've got lots of respect for X-Klan, but their animosity towards Best of the West? That just stems from their success, and a lack of success on the part of X-Klan. I'm really big on accountability, but X-Klan would do better, trying to be better, instead of just bad-mouthing Best of the West, just cause they happen to be doing a little better.
Well, all right, as we begin, it's going to be Black Sinister and Billy White Moon starting us off here. And this tag team matchup, Willie Johnson sounds the bell. They come center ring. White Moon locks it up with Sinister, shoves him down. Whoa! Sinister rolls back up to a standing position, misses with the dropkick, counters with a kick to White Moon. Another standing dropkick, fails to find the mark. Sinister counters again, fails to connect with the Hurricane Rana. Nails White Moon with a right. White Moon counters with an elbow and takes down the Black Sinister. Sinister blocks the kick, counters into a dragon screw. A kick to the chest to Billy White Moon. White Moon gathered up to his feet again. Sinister whips him to X-Klan's corner. White Moon counters out forcefully. Sinister whips him right back in again. White Moon refusing to stay in the X-Klan's corner. Counter whips Sinister to his team's corner. And here comes Jim Dandy Deacons, and here comes a double team from Best of the West. Double knees to the back for the Black Sinister as Jim Dandy Deacons assumes control of the match for his team. Drives an elbow into the head of the Black Sinister. Look at this, Jim Dandy Deacons with that inimitable, unusual style of his. A stomp to the chest. Jim Dandy with a stomp to the shoulder of the Black Sinister. Followed up with a stomp to the midsection. Jim Dandy Deacons driving a knee into the back of the Black Sinister. Sinister counters with a pretty good arm drag. Moves in on Jim Dandy, tries for the Hurricane Rana, turns it into a powerbomb. Jim Dandy Deacons lit up this evening. Jim rounds up the Black Sinister. Inverted atomic drop right in the store. Down goes Black Sinister. Jim Dandy with a butt bump to the lower back. Jim Dandy Deacons dragging him closer and closer to the Best of the West corner. And here comes Billy White Moon, the Mid-South champion. White Moon rounds up Sinister. Sinister counters with a knee to the head, takes down Jim Dandy, and he is beating it out of town in a hurry. Here comes Mad Dog X. X moves in, misses with the fist. White Moon with a spinning kick takes down Mad Dog X. A stomp to the midsection. White Moon countered with an arm drag. Mad Dog X moves in on White Moon. White Moon counters with a kick to the midsection. Mad Dog X countering with kicks to the leg of Billy White Moon. White Moon whipped towards X-Klan's corner. White Moon quickly dodging out, Olay out of the way. Mad Dog X countering with a jawbreaker. Fails to connect with the dropkick. White Moon gathers him up again. Lines up the arm of Mad Dog X. X, with a series of shots to the midsection, breaks up the top wrist lock. Locks up White Moon. White Moon again escorted towards X-Klan's corner, head first into the turnbuckle. But again, Billy White Moon absolutely refusing to stay in X-Klan's corner. Outside on the apron, White Moon counters with a right. Mad Dog X gathered up by Billy White Moon. Now being escorted towards the Best of the West corner. But Mad Dog X also refusing the invitation. Elbows to the midsection for Billy White Moon. White Moon whips Mad Dog X to the corner. X counters. Black Sinister trying to get in. Willie Johnson advising him not to do that. Whipped into the X-Klan's corner. Down goes Billy White Moon. Mad Dog X with a series of stomps to the back of the Mid-South champion. Billy White Moon gathered up by Mad Dog X. A quick counter and a forearm from White Moon. A counter from Mad Dog X and a kick to the leg. Whoa! What a Hurricane Rana right there from Mad Dog X. And a flip over neck whip to Billy White Moon. White Moon laid out just about center ring. Quickly counters with a kick. Takes down Mad Dog X. White Moon rounds him up. Whips him to the Best of the West corner. And oh boy, here we go. It is boot party time as Billy White Moon starts things off. There's a blind tag from Jim Dandy Deacons. It's his turn. And now here we go again. Another blind tag. Tex McKenzie taking in the whole thing as Mad Dog X is the victim of a boot party at the hands of Best of the West. Here's the whip. There's another dropkick and out rolls Mad Dog X to the center of the ring. Jim Dandy Deacons rolls him over. Goes for the cover. 1, 2, and no. Mad Dog X finds his way out of the pin. X drives a knee into the head of Jim Dandy Deacons. Deacons gathered up again. Mad Dog X. Whoa! What a driver from Mad Dog X. Follows up with a stomp to the midsection. Jim Dandy Deacons whips X towards the ropes. A back body drop for Mad Dog X. A kick to the back from Jim Dandy Deacons. Deacons counters again and a shoulder tackle, taking Mad Dog X down to the canvas. Jim Dandy Deacons rallying the crowd here in Raleigh. Rolls over Mad Dog X. A leg snap by Jim Dandy. Dandy rounds him up again. Oh, here we go. A series of short left jabs. A little fancy footwork and boom! Double shot to the chest. Down goes Mad Dog X. Jim Dandy Deacons certainly on a roll this evening. Whips Mad Dog X to the Best of the West corner. Uh-oh, here we go. Mad Dog X about to go for a 10-foot drop at the hands of Jim Dandy Deacons. And here it goes. Whoa! Mad Dog X is absolutely laid out. Jim Dandy Deacons slowly gathers him up again. Mad Dog X snaps out of it. Delivers a couple of elbows to the head of Jim Dandy. Jim Dandy counters with a kick to the leg. Deacons countered by Mad Dog X with a kick to the midsection. Deacons counters. A shoulder tackle takes Mad Dog X down. Here we go again. Jim Dandy Deacons doing quite a bit of showing off here this evening. The referee continues to count. Mad Dog X counters with a kick to the leg of Jim Dandy. A forearm. A fireman's carry from Deacons. A hard right from Deacons. Whoa! Mad Dog X putting the brakes on the attack of Jim Dandy right there. Jim Dandy counters again. Another shoulder tackle. Finds Mad Dog X down on the floor. Mad Dog X with a counter kick to Jim Dandy finally gets him back inside the ring. The referee breaks the count. Mad Dog X gathers up Jim Dandy Deacons. Oh man, what a clothesline from Jim Dandy. A chop that takes down Mad Dog X. A stomp to the midsection. And again, Jim Dandy driving all his weight into the lower back of Mad Dog X, who is desperately trying to reach the Black Sinister. Jim Dandy Deacons with the prevent drags in close to Best of the West corner. And here comes Billy White Moon on the tag, and here we go. Billy White Moon on the warpath here. Here's a clothesline. Here's a second. Swing and a miss. And down goes Mad Dog X. Jim Dandy Deacons Watching as Billy White Moon winds it up, and there's a hard right that takes Mad Dog X down to the canvas. Tex McKenzie with words of advice to Billy White Moon here. Oh, here we go again. White Moon makes his way to the top turnbuckle with Mad Dog X in tow. And he's going to go for another ride, and boom, there it is. Another 10-foot up, 10-foot down top rope superplex, courtesy of Billy White Moon, the Mid-South champion. Mad Dog X counters with an uppercut. Sets up for the Hurricane Rana, but it winds up being a powerbomb at the hands of Billy White Moon. White Moon gathers up Mad Dog X at an elbow, a forearm, and another hard shot to the back, another forearm, and yet another. Billy White Moon absolutely relentless here. Smashes the head of Mad Dog X into the apron. White Moon rounds him up again. Has him up over the shoulder, but whoa, quick counter, inverted DDT from Mad Dog X. As referee Willie Johnson continues to try to get them back inside the ring. There's another forearm from Mad Dog X to White Moon. White Moon rounded up again. Another Hurricane Rana. This time he nails it. And Billy White Moon caught all of it. Oh, look at this. Whoa. What in the hell was that? That was magnificent. That was like Jim Dandy Deacons has seen quite enough. Pulls Mad Dog X back inside the ring. Billy White Moon finally shaking it off. Makes his way back inside. Rolled up by Mad Dog. Look at this. And turns it into a powerbomb too. Mad Dog X gathering Billy White Moon towards center ring, going for a cover here. One, but Jim Dandy Deacons right there to break up the pin. Deacons catches a Hurricane Rana from Mad Dog X, and Jim Dandy's beating it out of town. Mad Dog X returns his attention to Billy White Moon struggling to get to his feet. X rounds him up. There's a clothesline. There's a second. A rebound off the ropes from X. And a beautiful flying kick, taking Billy White Moon down to the canvas. Mad Dog X rounded up a shoulder tackle from White Moon. White Moon back on the attack again. Delivers a stomp to the shoulder of Mad Dog X. Billy White Moon countered with a jawbreaker from X. Whoa, what a driver from Mad Dog X. Slamming Billy White Moon hard. White Moon whipped into X-Klan's corner, and in retaliation, here comes a boot party at the hands of the X-Klan for Billy White Moon. There's a blind tag. The Black Sinister makes his way inside. Starts going to work on White Moon. There's another tag. Mad Dog X moves in. It's his turn. Billy White Moon in all kinds of pain. And here comes the coup de grace. The whip, the drop. Oh, man. Billy White Moon rolls out center ring. The X-Klan gathering, going for a cover here. 1, 2, but again, Jim Dandy Deacons breaks up the pin. Slammed down to the canvas. The Black Sinister, now the legal man in the ring, whips White Moon to the far corner. Slams him out of the corner. Sinister. Whoa, what a move. There's a rebound off the ropes and a beautiful crossbody. And a wheelbarrow bulldog to close it out. What a combination from the Black Sinister of the X-Klan. X-Klan in control now. Kicks White Moon to the temple. Takes him down, rounds him up again. Black Sinister whipped out over onto the apron. Billy White Moon delivers a hard lift. Takes himself out onto the apron with Sinister and slams him into the lip of the apron. Mad Dog X with a Hurricane Rana on Billy White Moon on the outside. The referee counting Billy White Moon. Black Sinister also laid out on the outside. No sign of Jim Dandy Deacons. The referee continuing to count as both men try to get to their feet. Sinister with a stomp to the head. And a little bit of showing off. There's Jim Dandy. White Moon whipped back inside the ring. Quickly back up on his feet. Black Sinister whips him to the X-Klan's corner. Again, White Moon counters and escapes the corner. Counter whips Black Sinister to the best of the West corner. Black Sinister counters and escapes. White Moon goes behind. Hard right hand to the back of the head. Billy White Moon again whipped to the X-Klan's corner. And he definitely doesn't want any more after that boot party. Counter whips Black Sinister to his team's corner. Sinister again countering with a kick. White Moon counter slams him down on the canvas. And Billy White Moon going for a single leg crab. Sinister trying to reach the ropes here. But that's it. Black Sinister finds his way out of the hold and escapes. Rounds up Billy White Moon. Again whip to X-Klan's corner. A drop kick to Billy White Moon, who staggers out of the corner. Counter whips Black Sinister to the Best of the West corner. Again, Black Sinister counters and escapes. A hard right to the back of the head of Billy White Moon. Now White Moon again being escorted towards X-Klan's corner. There's the snapmare, a kick towards the back. White Moon stands himself back on up. Whips Black Sinister to the Best of the West corner again. But this time there's no escape. Here comes Jim Dandy Deacons. Here comes the double team. A flip over neck whip and a kick to the back. As Jim Dandy assumes control, here comes Mad Dog X on the tag. Mad Dog X with a kick to the midsection from Jim Dandy. Counters Jim Dandy with a hard right. An Enziguri style kick to the head. A clothesline to the back of the head of Jim Dandy Deacons, and down he goes. Deacons in trouble here. Whoa. Excellent fireman's carry. Jim Dandy again doing all that showing off that he does so well. Jim Dandy Deacons with Mad Dog X basically at his mercy. He shakes it off. Whoa, there's a clothesline. There's a second one. Jim Dandy Deacons rebounds off the ropes. A third clothesline takes Mad Dog X down to the canvas. And boom, there's an elbow right across the chest. And that could be the end right there. Jim Dandy going for the cover, hooks the leg. 1, 2, 3. No sign of Black Sinister to the rescue as Best of the West defeats X-Klan by pinfall.
Here's the time, 15 minutes and 19 seconds. Your winners, Best of the West.
Alright, so I didn't see a long, protracted battle in the cards. But that's what Best of the West gave us, along with X-Klan. And I think we just saw the very best match of the whole night, right here.
Jim Dandy Deacons and Billy White Moon certainly taking the fight to the X-Klan and coming up with a pinfall victory over Mad Dog X and the Black Sinister.
Both teams really did kick it up a notch in this one. What I would really like to see, though, is for X-Klan to own up to this loss, without blaming Best of the West for whatever petty reasons they'll invent, instead of looking inward. I dunno. That just annoys me about the X-Klan.
In any case, Best of the West with a terrific win over the X-Klan, and when we return, the Southern Gentlemen, the TV Tag Champions, right up next.